2 years ago, we featured Underground Performance's Volkswagen Golf R. This car put out 400 horsepower to the wheels on pump unleaded through a stock engine and transmission and ran into the 10s on the quarter mile. The Volkswagen platform is very popular in the hot hatch tuning scene, so it's no surprise that Garrett is now offering bolt-on turbochargers. We caught up with Alex Barnett of Underground Performance for an update on their Powermax G25 tuning results. Alex, I'm digging the new dyno room, mate.
Thank you very much.
Looking great.
It's taken a bit, but we're enjoying it. We can actually see what we're doing now, which is fun. Yeah, we thought we'd jump on the recent Garrett Powermax release. So we had the guys at GCG get in contact with us. Yeah, they wanted us to test it out. So obviously Garrett's a bit of a big deal. G-series stuff's been really, really good. So we started off with the G25 660. Yeah, got the guys to throw it on today. So a bit different than a normal plug and play turbo. A few of the lines, the feeds and whatnot. But also very little information on it. So we didn't know how hard we could boost it, how responsive it would be, what power it would make. But we did know that people had a lot of initial interest over it. And this is the stage 2 unit. So again, G25 660, 70 AR on the compressor housing, 72 on the rear. And we were really keen to try it out. Now, this car we have tuned before, it's on flex fuel. I think it's about E82 at the moment. Low pressure pumps, high pressure pumps, 1000cc injectors, fuel rail, all your usual bolt-ons, intake downpipe.
It's got
intercooler.
Intercooler, yeah?
Yeah, uprated intercooler.
But the engine and trans is untouched in terms of hardware, isn't it? It's
completely stock.
That's
standard clutches, standard engine and internals. Yeah. It's about 30,000 Ks on this engine. I can't promise it will last forever.
Yes.
But this is a test vehicle. We work with these cars all the time. If we've got to put another engine in it, we'll do it. But I'd rather test the products on this car and find out the limits of it so that our customers don't have to. Yeah. And that we can confidently sell and push products out to our customers and our dealers so that people can enjoy them. So
it's pretty incredible the power, you guys are making out of, what is a 2-litre engine?
Yeah, 2-litre 16 valve. It's got some trinkets in it. So it's got, variable cam timing. It's got direct injection, indirect injection. It's got no exhaust manifold. The turbo's bolted to the head. That's all internal to the head and water cooled. They're pretty amazing. We love them.
They are, aren't they? So as you said, this is the larger one, and there's also a, did Garrett rate it at 485 or 500?
Yeah, look, there's a stage 1 turbo and a stage 2.
And the stage 1 looks like a journal bearing, is that correct?
It's a journal bearing, but I think that might be the sweet spot.
Yeah.
Purely because of the price point. So the cars that we've been doing at this level previously, a really good turbo is around the $5,000 mark. Garrett's come in a bit lower than that. So for the big one, it's just over 4,000. And for the smaller one, it should be about 2. So yeah, look, it's not like your JDM or a similar option because Euro cars, you could say they've got Euro tax on them, but they are all specific bolt-on direct fit turbos. It's not like an aftermarket turbo with a fitting kit and lines and all the rest of it. So a lot of development's gone into it. All the intake hoses fit, the downpipe fits, the lines fit. That's what you're paying for. But the sweet spot will be the smaller item because stock turbos are known to fail, especially when you put boost into them. To have something that's going to produce a really good power level at lower cost is going to be a win for a lot of people, whether it be preventative or, if they have had a failure or they want to upgrade and chase a bit of power, and that'd be good for, GTIs, Rs, S3s, even some of the 1.8T cars. So that's a really good thing for the market.
You were saying earlier, factory replacements are quite expensive, really.
Well, if you walk into a Volkswagen dealership, you pay probably north of $3,000 for a replacement turbo that could later fail. Not that we want to put fear into people, but yeah, if you start pushing these cars, you need to understand the limitations. And inside the standard turbo is a Teflon ring. It's like a zero tolerance break-in component. So first time you run it, you know, it's got very little tolerance on the inside. But over time, and if you spin them really hard, they can catch. And basically it will crash the impellers on the inside, send bits all round that we have to clean and disinfect and chuck oil out the exhaust. So it's never nice going through that process. I'm not going to say that we've never had any failures. We have, but I think it's pretty synonymous with any tuning company in this market, and we do see them fail on stock cars as well. So, you know, that's just, I think, the Achilles heel of this platform, and that's something we've learned to live with.
Now, one thing that was cool today, we're actually running a speed sensor. From
the documentation that we got from Garrett, they basically say, do not spin this turbo harder than 165,000 RPM. We don't know what boost that means, so we took that optional speed sensor. So there's a probe that sits on the compressor housing, and that's rigged, jerry-rigged, off the turbo up through into the cabin, and you and I were sat there holding the gauge, watching this needle go up. And that helped us correlate what was a safe boost pressure. So we did get near that kind of 160 mark.
So it was about where we thought it would be, around 30 PSI.
Yeah, that's right. I haven't really seen any 660s push much harder than that. And certainly we don't want to be on the ragged edge. You'll make a number today, but if you're driving the car in 6 months, a year, 2 years, and the turbo blows, that's not a good thing. So, you know, find the limit, take a step back, and that's where we sit. And then the rest of it was just adding some ignition timing, because we've got E85 here, the car's not correcting or knocking, which is great, but we did get to a point where we increased the ignition timing and we didn't make any more power. So that's our MBT. So on this car it was about 17, 18 degrees. And yeah, you know, that's why flex is important, because if we do change the fuel source, that will scale back all the way back to 98. So yeah, look, it's about keeping it safe and running. And I think the result we got today was pretty good. I think we also have to need to understand the Garrett technology. The 660 is a bigger unit. It is a 2 litre. It's rated to 660, but maybe on a 3 litre. This is a 2 litre again. So I think what we got was relative to the tech that we use. So yeah, it was certainly boogie, responsive. You've got to put your foot into it, but it's a really nice boost curve, and I think the peak power is good, and really it's going to help save the rods as well. So
yeah, true. Like you said, I'd be keen to see what the smaller one makes, because it would spool up earlier.
I think it almost certainly will. It looks like near stock spool. So, you know, if a standard car on a standard turbo is making 240 at the wheels, and that gets you 280, 270, 280, that's a really good investment.
It is, isn't it?
And you're kind of future-proofing the engine itself for any potential failures, so that's good.
So the car was pretty consistent. It was making 350 quite easily on every run, wasn't it?
Yeah, look, we started a bit higher than I would like, so we had quite high shaft speed. And that was, something that we needed to target, is the correct shaft speed will equal a specific pressure. So where do we get to? We can see here we hit a peak pressure of 30 pounds, just over, and that was in line with our max shaft speed. So we know we can't really do much more than that. It's a pretty flat request. We're asking it to make a specific boost as early as possible, and that's how it reacted. You can see that the majority of the torque's coming in after 4, so we're about 4,500 RPM. But again, it climbs very rapidly from about 3.5. And it holds the torque pretty well as well. So it's not really dropping more than about 100 newtons across the whole rev range. So look, there is some refinement to do over time as we learn more about this turbo and how it responds on different cars. But I think for a first pass and the result today, it's pretty good, and certainly 358 kilowatt from a car that makes about 170 at the wheel stock.
Speaking of that, we had a stock one on the dyno earlier today.
We did.
And I said, what would it make? And you said it should make 170, and it made 172. And then I think you put a little tune up in it, and she picked up about 40 kilowatts.
Just did a stage 1, so we always get hammered on stages.
Yes.
You know, what is a stage? I'm
not a Euro guy. I just don't get the whole stages thing.
Look, any car, you just put a tune on it, right?
Yeah.
But the reason that we have stages is to assist the customer in understanding where they're going to get to. It's a bracket of power. And if you don't fall within that bracket, if there's something wrong with the car or something wrong with the tune on the setup. So we know if we hit from 170 up to 210 to 220, that car's making good power.
Yeah.
And it'll be responsive for the customer. And we know that on standard hardware, that's probably as far as you want to get.
It's fairly reliable.
But there's also some left on the table. So when they get a downpipe or an intake or an intercooler or all of the above, we kind of know where they're going to land then as well.
So where to now in this car? I noticed you got some drag ties out there, mate.
Look, I am desperate to get this thing out. It's pointless sitting on a dyno, putting different turbos on and making numbers. It's only relative to what's going on here, and everyone's desperate to see numbers. Yeah, look, we have done this before. 2 years ago, you and I were sat here with a different coloured car in the same spot in an open dyno cell. You know, the claim was that would be a 10-second car. We took it out and we did it. That was on 98. That was using a different brand of turbo. What we'll use on this car to go out and set times, I don't know. But we've had some good combinations so far that work pretty well. But I think the rest is going to be in technique. So we'll lower the weight, we'll put some sticky rubber on it, and then we'll focus on other things like the all-wheel drive system, what the suspension's doing, and also, you know, getting somewhere with really good surface prep and just trying to get a time out. And I'm not sure what it's going to do, but I think we'll have some fun doing it.
Yeah. Hey, I think you might have convinced me to get onto the VW bandwagon.
Mate, you don't want to upset people.
I never thought I'd say that.
Well, yeah, if you do, we can definitely look after you. But yeah, look, it's been a good platform. I've had quite a few of these cars. I keep coming back, and I think there's a reason for that. I think I said to you earlier, I think some people will say, you know, the answer is Miata, but I think for some people the answer is Golf. I think it's pretty sad to say, but, you know, it does everything. And if you can make, you know, 350 to 390 kilowatt on the standard engine and clutches, why would you not?
Just going back to that, this should bolt straight onto the Audi S3, is that right?
Yeah, it's an identical vehicle.
Yeah.
A lot of parts are interchangeable. In fact, all of the engine components are. Yeah, look, it's got a different frock on, and you get a different brand, and I think there's a bit of brand tax with that. I think certainly if you go into an Audi dealership versus a Volkswagen dealership. But
is this the same as the Passat?
Yeah, absolutely. It's all the EA 888 engine. It's a Volkswagen Audi TSI engine. Uses the same base turbo. It's got the same gearbox, albeit a little bit earlier, but it's got the weight as well. And I think, yeah, look, you'll see a lot of these engines in different platforms, but if it's lugging around an extra few hundred kilos, then obviously there's going to be a penalty there. You know, working a smaller engine harder because it's heavier is, you know, you're just not going to get the performance, but certainly there's a lot of wolf in sheep's clothing out there.
These Golfs certainly get the power down really well, don't they? They're like, going back in the day, you'd have to make more power because you just lose it through the transmission in terms of time. Like, these are very efficient, I mean.
Well, if, you know, some of the cars that you're testing are hammers, this is definitely a bit of a scalpel, and it will just deploy that power pretty well off the line. All-wheel drive system's quite smart. In some ways, it's pretty simple as well. It'll be front-wheel drive until it needs to send it back, so we'll use things like Haldex controllers to have a bit more influence on how that all-wheel drive system works. And again, just trying to drop weight on it. But yeah, ultimately, I still use this car every day. You know, I take my son to daycare in it. My wife drives it occasionally. It needs to do all of those things, but the fact that it can still hold that power, we can take it to the strip, you know, have a bit of fun with it is what makes it amazing.